50 tire machine to do this tire. So first things first, you pull the wheel weights off. You get it while it's on the ground, boom, pull all the wheel weights. No wheel weights on it anymore. That way the wheel weights don't gouge up the plastic head. Next step, I like to take it. These pedals, there's two pedals if you look at it. The left pedal does this. If you step down, expands. If you pull up, contract. The right pedal spins clockwise when you step down. It spins counterclockwise when you pull up. The last pedal over here, sorry, this side, is going to be air. But if I stomp it, it's going to actually blow air out here to help us seat the beads. So watch this. Boom! It blew my hair right off. That's what happened. I had hair before this demo. At some point. So because we're to that point, we're going to go ahead, lift it, put it on there, get it kind of centered, push it down. I'm going to step on the left pedal. That's expanding and got it clamped. But it's still got air. So we need to remove the valve core. Do that, just like this. Now, what I personally recommend is you carry your own, but usually there's one on the machine. We'll return this to its owner. The valve stem core is a straighter valve. We're going to put this right up on top. That way we know it's there. Now the air is coming out. We got a couple things we could do. We could loosen up this 12mm nut and drop the sensor out. That's a safe way, nothing wrong with it. Great idea. But it's an 11, thank you. But in this case, we're not going to do that. We're going to do it with it in. That way you can see the hard way. So boom, it's tight. Next step, what we really want to do, we can swing this over. Now running through what this does, these wheels are going to come down and kind of break the beads and unseat things. A couple different things. This lever right here, if you bring this over, smack it down, now it's locked. If you want to move it, pull it up, swing it out of the way. This we're going to swing down, right? So this is the duck bill. This is a tool to actually help you get the beads seated or installed. We're not going to use it yet. This would lock it. This is for your arm to kind of hold it down to lock it. We're not going to quite use that yet. And there is actually a way that you can lock it down. So we'll bring this over as our next step. There's some triggers right here. So note these. This one drops the top roller. If we want to apply pressure, we're going to squeeze it like you're shooting. Trigger. Okay. If we want to release it, pull back on it. It'll come back up. The right one, from my perspective, will do the bottom roller. But before we get to that point, we need to make sure we adjust it. This is how you adjust it here. So there's some numbers. This is a 16, and it's not always perfect, but we end up around that number, more like a 17. And so that's pretty much perfect right there. It's right on the edge. That's good. But we need to set the bottom one. So I press the button. I come under here. Can you see this mirror? You can use the mirror a lot, and it's going to basically contact the same point as the upper one did. Now at that point, we can start to apply a little bit of pressure on the bottom and on the top. This is the point where they're having trouble over there because they didn't really follow the video yet because we're making it. So at this point, we can do one of two things. If I lift up on the right pedal, it's going to spin counterclockwise, and that's okay, but if I push down, watch what happens. It walked it right off. So we don't really want that. That's not good. So let's kind of start over. Very common mistake. Should be right about there. Drop it back down again. So we could lock it, and lock it would be a safe bet. And so we could lock it. Cool. I actually don't, but you can if you want. What I do is I run it counterclockwise. So I lift up. That way it's pulling the head kind of more into the machine. I'm going to start to bump, start to bump, start to bump, start to bump. I'm just giving it a little bit. You'll see we're not shovelly clamping and bopping it. We're just doing a little bit. Now, if we sense that there's going to be any kind of difficulty, which there may be, what we should do get our trusty tire lube here, and we can go ahead and we can just start to apply a little bit. We can do it on the top, we can do it on the bottom. I do the bottom mostly by feel, because otherwise you end up just kind of crouching all the time. It ends up kind of a mess. So those have a little bit of lubrication now. So as we're going backwards, I'm just going to keep doing the trigger. I'm teaching you the nice and slow way. You get faster in time. A lot of spin, a little bit of trigger. I'm squeezing both at the same time. Top and bottom. Top and bottom. Now look, the top one's just about to let go. In fact, if you note, the top one has let go. The top one's popped. The bottom one is still hanging on. So I'm going to keep running it, but this time I'm only going to pulse the bottom one. The bottom one's applying a little bit more, a little bit more. Quite a bit, actually. Now at this point, I'm going to just check under there. Okay, everything is looking cool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to release it. Maybe just make sure the top is good and release it. The whole purpose there, very simple, just to get the beads broken, per se. The beads aren't broken, but they're broken loose from the wheel. Once the beads are broken, we're going to want to spin this down. Right here. Bang. Now that's in place. Next thing, this is an old school machine. We need to use the tire iron. Here's the thing. This is where you're going to get a little confused. The tpms sensor's here. That's a bad spot. So remember, when disassembling, we're going to spin the tpms sensor right by where we're going to pull it over, and I'll show you why. I'm going to take this. This is down here. You can hold here if you want to lock it down. I prefer just to keep my hand here, and I'm going to basically push this tire down, hook the bead. Now this hand is what everybody misses. Look what this hand does. I force it into the drop section. I'm forcing it down here as this hand is pushing down. Look at my right hand now. I can very easily just do this. Did you see me strain? I'm old. Not that strong, but that wasn't that difficult because it's technique. Then I'm going to take my right foot and I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to hit clockwise. It's going to peel it off. I want to point something out. It pulled the bead up over the edge of the wheel, specifically the rim part of the wheel, and nothing is hitting that tpms sensor, where if we had it where we did before, here, the bead would get ripped down into the drop section, be pressing up against the tpms sensor, and probably have broken it by now. And that would have cost us some money, and that's not good, which is why we did it there. I'm going to continue to spin until it's off. Boom. Now the bottom bead is giving me a little trouble on this one, but it feels pretty good now. If I feel like it's going to give me trouble, the answer is not to work harder. You could go get a little lube it up, but it feels pretty good now. So the next one, I kind of use this hand and I sort of bump this over. I take the tool, again with the hook side in that direction. I'm going to go down right here. I'm going to hook that lower bead. Once I feel like I hooked it, I'm going to kind of walk it up like this. Nice and easy, no sweat. I'm going to sort of pin this down. Now, here's the only thing I want you guys to think about. Where I have the tpms sensor right now, the bead is actually hitting it. Do you think I should force it? No. Me neither. So how about I drop it back down and I move it back to where I said I was going to have it. How about right there? Now I'm going to do that exact same process, except Randy, you're going to stand here and I want you to look from this angle. And watch what happens with that tpms sensor. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to fish for the bead. I'm going to get it, I'm going to pull it up. Is the bead touching the tpms sensor? No. So how could it break it if it isn't even touching it? That's the point. And I'm just going to, as I'm pulsing my right foot to go clockwise, I'm kind of leaning on this tire iron. I'm holding it in there. I'm just working it off. Nice and easy. No sweat, no stress, no cracking, banging, booming. Now this one's been practiced with a few times, as you can see. I guarantee you that wasn't us right now, but somebody probably got a little ambitious with it in the past. Slide the tire down, pop this up, boom, the tire's off. Now, in this demo, we're not talking about balancing, we're just gonna show how to get the tire on and off. So at this point, I get my tire lube here, which, by the way, this is not grease, it's not WD-40, it's not lithium spray, it's a soap based, it's specifically a tire paste. This type of lubricant, if you come back to that tire tomorrow, all that's going to be gone. the tire absorbs it. It doesn't stay slippery. We don't want it to be slippery for long. It's just for assembly. So I'm going to get this thing all good here. And then if I wanted to, I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it on to wash so we can shave that thing off of there. Okay, but really, I'm just going to lubricate the beads. It's important to get this edge. And it's pretty important to get this edge, but it's mostly important to get that edge. So we'll get both. I'm going to flip it. We get both. Bada bing, bada boom. A little bit of extra lube is not going to really hurt. It's all good. So once it's well lubed, I get rid of my brush. Now at this point, sometimes I like to show off, and I like to BAM! And slam it on. But because this is a training video, I won't. So I'm going to set it on there, nice and easy. Now we got to think critically. If I drop this down, walking through the process, I'm going to lift the left side up, set it on the head, force the right side down. So right now, it's about to walk its way on. Here's the thing, we gotta mind where that TPMS sensor is. And the TPMS sensor, we want that to be the last part that pops on. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna position the TPMS sensor right about maybe there. I'm gonna say right about there is gonna be good. So if this was 12 o'clock, this is 9 o'clock, what do you think that is? 10:30? That's bedtime. So put that thing to bedtime. I'm going to put it like this. Now, as I'm going to bump my foot to go clockwise, this hand is not doing a lot of force, but just kind of walking it around. Now, oh, you know what? That's not really the best spot for the TPMS sensor. Because you'll notice the bead was touching it. I'm going to say, how about we bring it, that doesn't look really good, huh? You can see how it's going to get hit. I think we need to bring it to about 6. Okay, 6 o'clock. So TPMS sensor at 6, you do that same process, walk it around. Note, TPMS sensor's here. Randy, get a view from right down here. Is the TPMS sensor being contacted? So watch me, right from that angle, watch me spin it around. The TPMS sensor needs to be the last part that drops on, and there it is. The bead never touched it. You can't break it if you didn't touch it. So by the time we're done with that one, we're going to bring around the same kind of thing. 6 o'clock here. Bring this over. If you note kind of where we have it, the way I like to think of it is like that's the last part that's going to pop on. Now this bead can give you some trouble. This is where I recommend this tool. Slide this over, lock it down. Now I can use this hand and I can kind of start it, and you'll notice it would go nice and easy. But what I'm doing with this hand is I'm forcing the tire down into the drop section. If it's a stiff sidewall, which this one's not, I could go ahead and I could actually use this, and I could kind of pry my way in and sort of like ride it around, and it would work. Not a problem. You saw there was no struggle there. There's just a little bit of push, a little bit of the lubricant. Pop this up, bring this up here. It's now mounted, it's good. If we wanted, you know, we could move it around, but there's no real reason to. Now, while this lubricant is still wet, let's go ahead and we'll set the beads. That way we don't have to put a lot of effort into it. So I'm going to go ahead, set this. I'm going to push the pedal. Now notice, you hear it? It's not setting. We may have to work it a little, maybe pick it up a little bit, maybe tweak it. Now this bead had some damage, so I think it might give us a little trouble. We'll make it work. You hear the stomp? The stomp is to try to set that lower bead. Well, that's interesting. I'm gonna say let's try to rotate where the bead is. This one's just a little bit damaged, so it may hold us up a bit. Just going to grab and spin the tire. So now it's got hopefully a better spot to seal. Okay, so that shouldn't have happened. It's really just because the bead is damaged, because it's a practice tire. If the bead is damaged, you're not going to install that tire on a customer car, that's for sure. Now what I like to do is, we have looked up what the spec on this car is. You guys remember the tire placard spec? We ain't talking about no sidewall, but if the sidewall max is 51, we're definitely not going to exceed 51 in the gauge. But if it's calling for 35, we'll set it to 35. Right now though, I've set it above 35. You want to know why? Because as soon as I pull that hose, it's going to start losing it. Now remember where I put the Schrader valve, the core. Now where I'm at, you know, by approximation, I'm going to say need a little bit more air. I'm going to go with this. Really fast. Nah, I need a little more, and maybe just like a little. That's about 35, I'm going to say. And I spin it up. Just snug it. They do have torque wrenches for that. Just snug it. I'm going to say 34 and a half, but I'm going to take a half and go with it. So here's that one. When we're done, we're just going to lift up on the pedal. Now the wheel's loose, wheel and tire assembly, and we're ready for balancing. So there's your tc350, which is very similar to all Hunter machines.